student homelessness is one of the biggest and most pervasive issues on campus. It happens a lot more than students think, and it takes a lot of different forms.
The impacts on people who become homeless are fairly dramatic. It's extremely difficult to live your life.
When you think homelessness, or when the majority, I would say, think about homelessness, you're thinking about people on the street. They look a certain way, they dress a certain way, they smell a certain way.
It's a difficult process. Like, my GPA has definitely dropped this semester, and I just wonder what would happen if I didn't have some of these financial problems. And
I feel like I could be a school asset if I were just able to live, if I were just able to have a home.
Not enough people understand what's going on with the economic reality of the Bay Area and how students, the overwhelming majority of them, are fully depending on their financial aid and to work in order to survive in the Bay Area.
Well, I think the market for housing in the Bay Area has become very hot, meaning that rents and housing prices are going up very rapidly. And what that means, when housing prices go up, it means that people who are trying to become first-time buyers, for example, have to stay renters longer because it's harder to afford to buy a house. That means that there are more people crowded into the rental sector. And also you have a situation where the labor force in the Bay Area is very bifurcated in terms of their economic rewards from work. So you have a lot of very low-income people with very modest means, but also a growing number of people who can afford to spend more on housing. And because San Francisco has become so expensive, many workers from Silicon Valley, for example, have come to the East Bay. That has made it much harder for students to find their own housing. What was once student housing, or largely student housing, is now being occupied by technology or technology sector related workers. They have more buying power. They can take a company bus to Silicon Valley, and this is pricing students out of the market.
So unless you are also a student that comes from a wealthy background, you're just not going to be competitive in the housing market of Berkeley.
It's been an impossible situation for a long time, and I've had really varying problems, all the way from not knowing where I'd sleep at all to just generally being overwhelmed with how long the commute is. Because I mean, honestly, if you're doing 2 hours, like, imagine if I'd have put all that to homework. That's 10 more hours I could have put to actual schoolwork. Like, what if I didn't have to work? What if I didn't have to do such crazy commutes? And what if I just got to be home and be secure and know where I was gonna sleep at night and wasn't house hunting? Because house hunting around here takes so much effort. So after my freshman year, I moved out the dorms after they charged us just an ungodly amount. So I decided to be able to move off campus to try to be able to get some cheaper living. I ended up moving out to Richmond, California. The rent was $525 for a room, as opposed to it being the $1,620 for a double that it was in my freshman year. So $1,620 to share a room with somebody else. It was really hard, but it was essentially the only thing that made any level of financial sense. A lot of homework getting done on buses because I was working 16 hours a week maybe at the time while doing a 2-hour commute each way. After that, though, because of the violence that ended up occurring in the house, that's when I became really housing insecure. So basically, I'd had about 9 months of insecurity. So 2 semesters affected by me not knowing where I was going to live. I think I might have stayed in like 8 different places over the course of like 11 months. I lived in 8 different spots. I slept in laundromats, definitely snuck down there to sleep there a few times. I slept on the floor at my father's old place. I went to my mother's house. I stayed there. I definitely did some couch surfing, like vicious couch surfing. I messed up my FAFSA my sophomore year. We thought that coming into the fall semester, we were gonna have to pay $8,000 something again. Because like I'm a first generation student, the FAFSA was really difficult. We messed some of it up. We thought that I was gonna have to pay $8,000 almost every single semester just to go to Cal. So, which wasn't the case, but as a first generation student that messed up, we didn't know that. We didn't have anybody to come talk to us. It was really, and so I came in and I did a job over the summer that allowed me to have a place to stay, but I did that job and another job, so I was working 50 hours a week during the summer and to stay in a double. The issue is to find housing in Berkeley, you need to be doing that hunt like at least 4 months in advance. Because I was staying somewhere over the summer, that wasn't the case because I couldn't give up my summer housing. So essentially, I tried to look for a house for the end of August, starting at the beginning of August. Needless to say, that didn't work. That's where I was talking about some of the housing discrimination I felt like I was facing earlier. I've been to at least 10 open houses, at least 10, where it was like I can pay because I'd been saving money the whole summer, but they just wouldn't accept the money. And it would be people where they would talk finances there, and I would just feel like I'm really chasing. Like, I'll pay multiple months of rent in advance. Can you please just give me a place to stay? But the competition being so high, and there being literal adults and grad students, like, yeah, I have the money, but I still am not making 3 times the amount of income necessary because then they want 3 times income for you to be able to move in. So it makes a really impossible housing situation for students unless their parents can prove that they want to be able to pay. And like I said, I'm technically coming from a background where my mom is the only person paying. So, like, it would be really hard to prove myself as a very good candidate. And yeah, so I was going to open houses, getting denied. For that, the biggest thing that has to be done, and it's actually the reason why I'm in ASUC. So to give some background, so Zainab, which is the school president, love her to death. One of the best people, I swear to God, on this earth. She's there, but there's not much black representation in student government, nor direct accountability coming from black or other minority communities directly to the chancellors. We don't need money, we need a seat at the table. Because there's been times we've gotten money before, we didn't get a steady stream. They threw us some money and be like, oh, well, the problem is fixed. Then a year later, when that money is spent up, we don't have a consistent way to continue getting it, so that the next generation of students comes in and is facing the same problem. Like, why is my stepfather telling me that this housing crisis has been a thing a long time? I want like reparations. I want money. That would be great, but I need a seat at the table more than anything.
This is Nutella. I've had him for about almost 4 years now. I found him on the streets of Denton, Texas. We've moved around together a fair bit, but this is our first time, like, being homeless. So I came here on all of these scholarships and other accolades that I got from my community college when I transferred here, and that covered my entire community college experience. I had money left over, even, to transfer with to Berkeley. Having experienced Berkeley, however, where all of the benefits that I had coming from Indiana would have applied, such that my entire tuition would very well have been covered had I been in state. It was never the case because Berkeley's out-of-state tuition is so high. The way Berkeley is set up, it decentivizes students to want to apply for scholarships when they know that if those scholarships apply to their accounts, Berkeley will say, oh, well, I guess you don't need this loan money then, and take that away. So I guess the reasoning is that, well, it has to come out somewhere. So, well, now that you're getting this other benefit, you don't need this loan, you don't need this other thing. So there's really there's no point for me to spend time applying for scholarships when I know that they're not going to help me now. I guess the ideology, the would be like, well, that just means that you don't have to pay it later like you do with a loan. But I need the money now. That's why you apply for scholarships. That's what got me through community college. The problem comes in for this semester, where I am considered an unregistered student because over time, My debt ratio, what I owe the school, has climbed, and you have to pay a certain percentage of the fees that are applied to your account in order to attend the next semester. But even as an unregistered student, I am still enrolled in classes which I will receive grades for at the end of this semester. The difference is I just don't reap the benefits that other students who are considered registered, officially registered, do. This semester has been the most challenging semester of my academic career so far. Just from an academic standpoint, the stuff that I'm learning is very difficult. But beyond that, I'm also having to grapple with this situation of homelessness that's completely bowling me over. It's very hard to finish assignments. It's very hard to do anything, really. I can't even make it to campus most days because sometimes the places that I have to stay at night are so far from campus that I can't secure a ride, even if I did ride the BART, because even in some cases the BART is too far for me to even walk to, because that's just what I have, or I have to stay somewhere on the streets on campus. One of my professors reached out to student housing to see if there was any emergency housing available for me. And it turns out that because I'm not registered, because I'm not considered a registered student, I don't qualify for emergency housing. I could be doing so much better than I am right now if I didn't have to deal with all these issues. And the sad thing is Berkeley really doesn't invest in students who are performing well. They don't really have as much needs-based aid. I feel like I could be a school asset if I were just able to live, if I were just able to have a home.
What would I say to a student that is homeless? First, that I'm sorry. You shouldn't be homeless. Nobody should experience homelessness. And I think we forget to apologize for that. The second thing is that they're not alone, unfortunately. I've met first-year students all the way to 10th-year doctoral students that are experiencing homelessness, and all for unique ways and all for very valid reasons. And it doesn't feel any better if you're younger or if you're older, or if you're of any race, ethnicity, gender, sexuality, class, major, what have you. So I would say sorry, and I would say you're not alone. And third is, we need you to let us know. There's too many students that are suffering in silence because they haven't told anybody, or because they've normalized that, or because they don't want to be a burden to anybody. It's the complete opposite. We need them to let us know. Reach out to whoever it is that you feel comfortable reaching out to, your professor, to your counselor, to the EOP program, to the Dean of Students office, to me.
The Student Advocate's Office is a confidential, nonpartisan executive body in the ASUC, and we help students with any grievances or issues they have with the university. And so notably, we do casework services for students in 4 main divisions: academic, grievance, conduct, and financial aid. And in our financial aid casework, we work with a lot of students facing different forms of basic needs insecurity, and we help them in any way we can with their financial aid package, aid appeals, cost of adjustment. So we're a really good and free resource for students who are facing any issues with their need and security.
The idea behind the Homeless Student Union, right, was to be able to establish or create a space in which homeless students could build community, find support within each other, and be connected to resources, right, that would somehow, some way improve their quality of life and make possible, right, their success here.
Our goal is to provide basic needs for all students, and we know that especially for low-income students, we are that lifeline, and that students rely on robust financial aid to be able to make it here as a student. And we would be happy to partner with the student on accessing everything that may be possible. And after we've exhausted all of that, there is a process for exceptions, and there may be partnerships in the community that we can also access. And we're also really pleased to offer financial literacy advising. We have a peer-to-peer mentoring program called Bears for Financial Success, where we can work with students individually on how to set up a budget, how to determine all of the potential income streams that may be coming in, and how to budget that over the course of their 9 months as a student. And then after all of those steps, if there are still gaps, we have been partnering very closely with the Student Advocate's Office to offer emergency housing funds.
So last year, the advocate at the time wrote and secured a grant through student fees for an emergency housing program, and these last 6 months we've been in the first process of implementing it. So what this program is a resource for students who are facing temporary displacement or homelessness and need support for 2 to 4 weeks. That's how long you can be on the grant. And when a student contacts our office or through another referral network saying that they're homeless, we help place them or pay for their rent for 2 to 4 weeks. We're working really closely with financial aid and Path to Care and the basic needs community to figure out how to best develop this program, but it's definitely a resource for students.
Some people want to blame students for being irresponsible and not being able to have housing. Other people want to blame the staff for not doing enough. Other people want to blame the administrators, and other people want to blame landlords. But a blame conversation is a zero-sum game. Right now, we're starting to partner with on-campus and off-campus leaders that want to engage this challenge and say, let's start figuring things out. So there's community organizations that are starting to identify hosts in the same way that so many people have signed up for Airbnb. Some of them have locations that a student can be moving into. So how do we recruit them to say, be a champion of a college student that can't afford a housing location and bring them in? And then there's also, how do we provide additional funding to students that they're falling short by $100 or by $200? And how do we provide that funding? Where does that money come from so that the student has enough to get into a housing location?